Hi there, and welcome to another lesson on this platform. This is video 4 um, on our series of lessons relating to anxiety and anxiety disorders. I hope today's session would be enlightening and you'd find it useful. Today we are focusing on separation anxiety disorder. Separation anxiety disorder. We have looked at generalized anxiety disorder. We have also looked at social anxiety disorder after the first lesson on anxiety. So today we are focusing on a third type of anxiety disorder called separation anxiety disorder. And as the name suggests, separation anxiety disorder is related to being separated from someone or something, so to speak, that you have become so attached to. And this is excessive, this is pervasive, and this is causing a lot of distress to the individual who may be experiencing separation anxiety disorder. So, in children, typically before the age of 4 5 thereabout, and toddlers, primarily you'd find that there's this need for close proximity to their primary caregiver. So if the mother figure is taken away or leaves the scene, the child is more likely to cry and throw a lot of tantrums here and there. And it's typical, it's normal for children. However, there are times where this becomes excessive, it's causing a lot of distress, and it's leading to quite a number of danger relating to the child or others. And that could then be an indication of separation anxiety disorder. So in children, separation distress is normal. However, if this becomes persistent and over time care is not taken, they may develop separation anxiety disorder. Now, adults also experience separation related distress, whether in a relationship, whether in terms of family unions and all that. And would see what are some of the key symptoms of separation anxiety disorder from the DSM-5 TR, and we'll talk about some key tips that you can or you can apply in managing separation anxiety disorder. Once again, this is an educational video. If you find that the symptoms are similar to what you may be experiencing, or you know someone who may be experiencing the symptoms, and this has been quite pervasive, you want to see a professional mental health practitioner for help. You'll be taken through a more nuanced assessment procedure and given the necessary intervention. That is very important. So, according to the DSM-5 TR, separation anxiety disorder is a developmentally inappropriate and excessive fear or anxiety concerning separation from those to whom the individual is attached. So the key point is that the individual is experiencing fear or anxiety that is excessive, that is pervasive, meaning that it's affecting various aspects of the individual's life, various important aspects of their life, whether academic, occupational, family, social life, and all that. And this anxiety or fear, which is persistent, excessive, inappropriate, pervasive, is in relation to being separated from someone that they love, they are attached to, or have become so bonded to. And any one of us would feel some distress or some anxiety when we are taken away from people that we are so much glued to or attached to. So it's as part of our human experience, being anxious when you are not in the company of someone you are more comfortable with or more attached to is normal. However, when this becomes excessive and inappropriate, and that keeps happening for a longer duration, so for children, the fear or anxiety or avoidance is persistent, lasting at least 4 weeks. So you are looking at least 1 month duration of this, these symptoms we talk about, this fear or anxiety relating to separation, lasting for at least 4 weeks in children and adolescents, and when it comes to adults, typically 6 months or more. So you'd find that this goes beyond just our normal, human experience of feeling anxious or feeling a bit distressed because we are taken away from people that we are so close to, or people who are close to us seem to have left us, or there's this anticipation that they will not be with us for the foreseeable future. So that's something that we need to note, so that as we have kept mentioning, you don't just get up to diagnose yourself with any of the anxiety disorders. There are a number of factors that need to be considered to be able to tell that this has moved beyond just normal anxiety, which we may all experience, to a disorder. Now, a third key thing is that the disturbance causes clinically significant distress or impairment in social, academic, occupational, or other important areas of functioning, which is something I mentioned earlier. So it's pervasive and it's leading to a lot of distress and also impacting negatively the person's social life. If they are students, their academic life; if they are workers, their occupational life, and other key areas of their life will be negatively impacted. Now, the separation anxiety can be in two folds, and so it may be related to parent separation, so parents being taken away from the child or the adolescent, or the adult losing someone or being separated from someone they have been so close to for a long time, and over the past at least 6 months or so, they've been struggling to deal with that separation that has happened. So the response to the separation is very distressing and is posing a lot of challenge to the individual. So it may be related to current separation, or it may also be related to anticipated future separation. So there's the fear that this individual, this spouse, this friend, this parent, this child that you are so attached to will probably die or leave or be taken away, be kidnapped. Those anxious thoughts are quite pervasive because of the anticipation that this may happen in the future, and there may be no justifiable reason to think so, but the anxiety exists nonetheless. So it's anticipatory anxiety because of this fear, this projection that the person that you are attached to, the primary source of attachment, will be separated from you. And when separated from major attachment figures, children and adolescents, as well as adults with separation anxiety disorder, may exhibit symptoms of social withdrawal. So you suddenly find that this individual has begun to withdraw from social gatherings, social settings, and all that. A lot of apathy, indifference, sets in consistently, in a very depressive mood, sad, and finding it difficult to concentrate on work or even play. That is for children and adolescents. And the DSM-5 TR gives us some typical characteristics for children and adults. So in children who are experiencing separation anxiety disorder, you may find that they are very demanding, they are very intrusive, and they need constant attention. And when you go into attachment theories, and the study of attachment and attachment formation, you'd find that children who in their childhood fail to get a primary caregiver, particularly the mother figure, who is present, who and they can look onto as a safe space, a safe haven, and they fail to get that primary caregiver who is attending to them in times that they need such a caregiver. They develop an insecure attachment, to that primary caregiver. This, by extension, would have an effect on how they interact with their world and to people. So it leads to this development of that clingy, nature, which is also typical of dependent personality disorder, which is one of the personality disorders. And in clinical diagnosis, your therapist will try to do what we call the differential diagnosis, so that they can probably chalk off any other potential disorder that may be present. So in children who have separation anxiety disorder, you'd find the need for constant attention, and they may be very dependent on the attachment figure. And if they are parents, you would find that they are very protective, overly protective of the children, because of that fear that if I'm not always present, something bad would happen to my child, or they will be taken away and all that. So it could have been a result of childhood experiences from the parents' angle, where they may not have received that kind of protection that would make them feel securely attached, and all that. So they may grow up as parents that are quite protective and overly present, and always anxious about the whereabouts of the child or the children, and thinking of potential separation from this child or these children. So that's what may be characteristic of children with separation anxiety disorder, and how that may also appear in parents who may have experienced issues of attachment in childhood. Now, in adults with separation anxiety disorder, you'd likely find that if it's a relationship, this individual is almost always texting or calling the major attachment figures throughout the day, or repeatedly checking on the other fellow, the child or the spouse, or the partner, the fiancé, and you'd if you are dealing with such a person, you may feel that they are too intrusive, they are too, they are more or less becoming overly, inquisitive, so to speak. And that is because there's this fear that I need to be aware that this person is fine. There's that anxiety, there's that fear, which we have mentioned is inappropriate. It's out of touch with what should actually be when we are showing concern for others, and it's quite distressing to both the individual and to the individuals that may be on the receiving end of such separation anxiety symptoms in their fellow. So the major attachment figure may feel a bit overwhelmed with that persistent, checking up, persistent calling and texting. It's normal to want to check up on something or someone, but if this becomes quite excessive and it's consistently, making the other person feel you are being all intrusive and overly demanding, then that is a problem that needs to be checked. The individual's excessive demands often become a source of frustration, which we have highlighted. So the demands for attention and the demands for checking or repeatedly checking to see that the other person is fine, is okay, you know, it becomes a source of frustration for the family members, for the spouse, for the friend, for whoever the individual is attached to. And it may lead to resentment and some conflicts, particularly in a relationship and all that. So, as I mentioned, these may be things that you also see someone who has a dependent personality disorder, or someone who has generalized anxiety disorder, and some of the other disorders that may have similar symptoms as this. So basically, this is what is happening. So there's this whole fear that the individual I'm attached to won't come back, would go away. So I'm scared they won't come back. And that is the source of worry. That is the source of anxiety. And this is distressing. This is causing some dysfunction in major areas of the individual's life. It's becoming a frustration to others around them. And it's deviating from the normal or appropriate way of showing concern for other people that you are attached to. So what are some of the key symptoms? Number one, there are recurrent excessive distress. There's recurrent excessive distress when anticipating or experiencing separation from home or from major attachment figures. So if it's a child or an adolescent, going to school is always a source of distress to them, because they are being separated from the house where they feel more secure, or they feel more comfortable with. So anytime they are taken away from home, it doesn't take long before they feel homesick or they fall sick, get ill, because they are away from home. And also being separated from major attachment figures, which could be parents or children or a spouse or someone that you are so closely bonded with. So that distress when you are anticipating or experiencing separation from home or major attachment figures could be a sign of separation anxiety disorder. Number two, there's persistent and excessive worry about losing major attachment figures. So these intrusive thoughts that the major attachment figure would die, probably because they are traveling or they've traveled, or something bad will happen to them, or they will be kidnapped, they will be attacked, they will fall sick. So there's this fear, excessive, persistent worry that that major attachment figure who has been taken away or has traveled or has been separated from this individual would never come back again, or that they would suffer some possible harm, such as illness, injury, disasters, or death. So there's this persistent or excessive worry about such related matter. Number three, there's persistent and excessive worry about experiencing an untoward event that causes separation from an attachment figure. So number two is in relation to the attachment figure being harmed or going and never coming back. And number three is about the individual himself or herself. So there's this persistent and excessive fear that something bad will happen to me. I'll fall ill, I'll die, I'll have an accident, I'll be injured, whatever it is, something ill will happen to me, and that will cause me to be separated from my attachment figure. Number 4, there's the reluctance, persistently reluctance or refusal to go out, away from home, to school, to work, or elsewhere because of the fear of being separated from the individual's primary attachment figure. And 4 or 5, there's a persistent and excessive fear of or reluctance about being alone or without major attachment figures at home or in other settings. Number 6, there's persistent reluctance or refusal to sleep away from home or go to sleep, without being near a major attachment figure. So if it's a child and adolescent, they can't sleep in a different room from their parents or their elder sibling or whoever it is. It could be an older person fearing, sleeping in a different room from an attachment figure, whether their spouse or children and all that. So there's this fear of being away. So if it's in the home environment, we need to be in the same room. I need to keep an eye on you, or I should know that you are safe, or I am safe. That leads to that refusal or reluctance to sleep away from home or without a major attachment figure. There are repeated nightmares involving the theme of separation. So a lot of bad dreams, and these dreams are filled with events that are leading to separation, whether a dream of the major attachment figure passing away, being involved in an accident, being attacked, or you yourself, something happening to you in the dream, and all those things that may be an indication that you are being separated from the people you love or you care about. And then the last we'll talk about is repeated complaints of physical symptoms. Remember, when we discussed anxiety, we mentioned that when it comes to anxiety and anxiety disorders, there are somatic symptoms, so symptoms related to the physical body and the physiological response system. So we have headaches, stomach aches, nausea, vomiting, and all these things happening as well in separation anxiety disorder. So the thought that the major attachment figure will be separated from the individual, or they will be separated from such a person, would lead them to falling sick or having headaches, having difficulties that are related to their physical body. There are some risk factors or some things that could lead to separation anxiety disorder, and I mentioned earlier childhood attachment problems. So there are environmental factors, childhood attachment problems. Children who didn't have the right figures of attachment or the right environment of security, so they didn't find their primary caregivers, particularly the mother figure, who is considered the major or main point of attachment for the child. They didn't find that primary attachment figure as a safe haven, as a safe space. There was a lot of separation distress happening, right from early days of childhood, and there was no sense of proximity between the child and the parents or key attachment figures. So that could lead to the development of symptoms that, when not handled early, could result in a diagnosis for separation anxiety disorder. The death of a loved one, so parents, friends, and children, could also lead to the development of separation anxiety disorder. Childhood abuse, bullying, people that were bullied a lot and abused in their childhood may develop separation anxiety disorder because of that fear of being bullied. They would rather want to be near somebody who can fight for them, who can step in for them. So if they are left alone, where that primary individual who is their source of safety is not around, there's a whole lot of fear and anxiety that engulfs them. There are persistent external threats that these individuals receive. So if these individuals or an individual continues to receive a lot of threats of death, of attack from external sources, they would likely develop this anxiety or fear of the potential harm that will come their way. And this will mean that if they are separated from key figures in their life who may be a source of protection, they would be overly and excessively anxious or fearful. So these are some environmental factors that could lead to the development of separation anxiety disorder, whether in children, adolescents, or adults. There are genetic and physiological factors, family history of anxiety disorders, uh, separation anxiety disorder, generalized anxiety disorder, and other conditions that are related to anxiety could have an impact on an individual developing separation anxiety disorder. So there could be some genetic factors here and there. Individuals that are highly sensitive to respiratory stimulation could also, be vulnerable to separation anxiety disorder. So what are some tips that you can apply in managing separation anxiety? And, if you know someone that may be experiencing separation anxiety symptoms as we have outlined, how can you be of help to them? So the first key we talk about is developing a positive self-concept. Now, the self-concept has three key elements, and these are primarily based on Carl Rogers' idea. So he talks about the self-esteem, self-image, and self-ideal, or the ideal self. And these are the three core components of your self-concept. Your self-concept is who you have believed yourself to be, or who you assume yourself to be as a result of certain beliefs that you hold of self, of others, and of the world generally. So if you lack a proper understanding of self, which would then mean that you do not really know who you are, then there may be a problem where you have become so dependent on others for security, for love, that you may struggle to deal with them who thought that they are being taken away from you, or you are being separated from them. So the first key thing is to work on your self-concept. And our self-concept is something that changes over time through experiences. So right from childhood, the dreams that you had, the vision that you had, that you want to be this and that, certain experiences in school, at home, and all that will begin to change your dream for the future, and how you see yourself and all that. So our self-concept changes over time, and negative experiences may, at the end of the day, lead to a negative self-concept. So how do you develop a positive self-esteem? One of the key highlights from our earlier lessons would be how you talk to yourself, your internal conversations, your self-talk. Very important. So you may have grown up with a critical voice that tells you that you cannot do anything by yourself, and you grew up with a lot of bullying, of abuse, physical abuse, verbal, non-verbal abuse, and all that. And you had to rely on others for your safety and for your sense of worth. Now you want to begin to talk to yourself. You want to begin to look out for your strengths. You want to begin to look to yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that you are valuable. Tell yourself every morning, every day, every time that I'm good, I am valuable. I do not have to depend on others for my sense of worth and security. These are things that you want to keep telling yourself, reminding yourself daily that you are capable, that you have what it takes. And this includes your conversation with people around. You want to tie yourself around people that believe in you and give you the sense that you are worth, whatever it is that it will take to achieve your goals in life, that you have what you need internally. You are self-sufficient, and they acknowledge your strengths and your positive virtues and all that. This helps you to develop a sense of self that is positive, that is filled with confidence, and that is devoid of self-criticism and all the negative things associated with that. So your self-image, how you see yourself, I am strong, I am intelligent, how you view yourself. So if I look at myself in the mirror, who do I see? That is your self-image. How do you see yourself in the next 5 years? How do you foresee where you will be? What do you wish you were now, or what do you wish you will become? That is your self-ideal or ideal self. Now, what you are now is your real self. What you are achieving now is your real self. You have certain ideals for the future. You wish you were a bit more wise in how you do things. You wish you were a bit more, assertive and all that. Those are things that you wish you were. That is your self-ideal or ideal self. By working on your internal conversations and working on the people you surround yourself with, speaking with people that have gone ahead of you, mentors, role models, people that can be a source of encouragement to you, can help you to find a balance between what you wish you have, what you wish you would become, and where you are now, so that you do not become so fearful of losing whatever it is that you have built over time, because there's somebody in your life that has been taken away. And so because you don't believe in yourself, you don't believe in your personal strengths, you feel that their separation from you would cause you to lose out on life. So when you have people that can give you their experience through life, that would be helpful to you. If you go through therapy and you are taking through some of the cognitive behavior models, it helps you to shape your understanding of how you can stand on your own and build this strength within that increases your confidence about yourself and how you can challenge life head on, even if your major attachment figures are taken away from you. So building your self-esteem, your self-image, and self-ideal is all included in a positive self-concept. If you have a positive self-concept, your belief systems are positive, your belief systems are strong in the sense that they help you to function, they help you to thrive, irrespective of whether or not the major figures of attachment in your life will be taken away from you or have been taken away from you. So that anticipation, that anticipatory anxiety is dealt with and even any anxiety related to current separation is also dealt with. You want to practice imaginal disputation, which is something we have mentioned in previous lessons. And imaginal disputation is where, instead of imagining those instances where the primary attachment figure or major attachment figure has broken up with you, has left you, has been involved in an accident or a disaster, has suffered an illness and all that. These are negative things, and the more we think about them, the more they make us feel depressed and they make us more anxious. And so imaginal disputation is saying that you'd imagine these negative things and you see how they are negatively impacting your mood and causing you to become very discomforted and frustrated and dysfunctional in many areas. So now that you can see the effect it is having on you, you also want to imagine situations where this individual that has gone on a trip or has been separated from you is safe, is fine, they are happy, and you get a reunion sometime later, or they come back from school, they go to school, they come back, they go to work, they come back. These are imaginations that you have where the individual goes and comes back, where you go on a travel and you come back, so the positive images help you to dispute the negative images that cause you to have this anticipatory anxiety. So practicing imaginal disputation is very important. Number 3, engage in relaxation exercises. This is very important in anxiety related conditions. Relaxation is important. Relaxation is very critical for the fear, anxiety related to being separated from a core major source of attachment. You need to bring yourself to a relaxed state. Sometimes the body's mechanism, stress response, kicks in just by the thoughts that the person you are attached to has been involved in an accident, and that means they will be taken away from you. All that thought is like a threat to your system, and so there will be that physiological response to it. The fight flight mode will turn on. But when you engage in exercises that lead to relaxed muscle tension, it helps you. Deep breathing exercises, practicing mindfulness, these are things I have discussed in previous lessons. You may want to check some of the videos I've placed in the cards, and I hope it will be helpful. PMR stands for progressive muscle relaxation. You can find some of these exercises online, so you can search for progressive muscle relaxation exercises, and you find some videos on how to do that. If you see a therapist, a psychotherapist, in your assessment, if they find that this will help, you will be taken through the progressive muscle relaxation deep breathing exercises as a way of helping you to calm your nerves in situations or even in the thoughts that someone you love or you are attached to may be separated from you. A relaxed muscle, contributes to a relaxed state of mind. And would end with the fact that if you find the symptoms are quite difficult to handle, and this is something that you are struggling with, you would want to seek professional help. Very, very important. Dealing with anxiety is a whole difficult process, and it's not as though it's just something that in one day you get over with. So if you seek professional help and you are taking through the right procedures, the right interventions over time, the persistence and consistency in therapy can help you to overcome not only separation anxiety disorder, but any of the other forms of anxiety disorders. So seek professional help if you find that your symptoms or the person you know may be experiencing the symptoms of separation anxiety are getting a bit distressful or distressing. Thank you so much for joining in today's lesson. I hope it is useful, and I hope you've learned one or two things in relation to separation anxiety disorder. Before you go, I'll be glad if you like the video, share it, leave a comment, and subscribe to the channel if you are yet to do so. I'm glad you made time for us to share in today's topic, and I hope to see you in another video lesson. Stay safe, stay positive, and always be a blessing. Bye bye.